These past few weeks, I've been sharing videos about how to create to-do lists that get done. And instead of collecting dust, learn how to make them actionable so that you can feel accomplished and proud of yourself at the end of the day. But there's a big elephant in the room.
We are not machines.
In a hustle culture, chasing a to-do list is a way of life. But the reality is we don't perform at 100% every single day. Expecting to perform at a high level every single day, day after day, is unrealistic. On this channel, I talk a lot about burnout prevention and people feeling burnt out. But even when not feeling burnt out, there are days when we just don't feel ourselves. Maybe we caught a cold, maybe we experienced a breakup, maybe we are on our cycle for the ladies. When we experience low energy levels, it's incredibly hard to think clearly and have that drive and stamina to sit down and know exactly what are our core priorities and get them done. Getting through to-do lists somehow on those days becomes a task in itself. And on slower days, we just tend to feel overwhelmed about everything. The last thing I want for you on those days is to procrastinate and give up on your goals. I've been there and it just makes things worse. You go to bed, you already felt down all day, but you go to bed with a feeling of being behind in life, feeling frustrated and disappointed at yourself for not getting things done. And then there's added pressure that compounds for the upcoming days. And so then in the upcoming days, instead of focusing on an acting recovery and healing your body, mind, soul, you have this mounting pressure that just forces you to catch up on the task buildup from the other days. No. I want you to move forward on your goals even on the slower days. So whatever it is, to send your resume applications, to get a new job, accelerate your performance at work so that you get an amazing performance review, or stay consistent with your healthy habits even when you feel down, you can still make progress on those lower days. That's why in this video I'll share with you sort of my top system to get things done even on the days where I really don't feel myself. And it's important because on those days, what we want is not to stay at a desk all day and all night. What we want is get the most important things done, get through that day still making progress, and leave to rest and recover so that we can come back to our normal selves ASAP. That's enough for the intro. Let's get to it. The first thing when you don't feel at your best, after you wake up, open your to-do list, whether it's on paper format or on an electronic format, open it up and start a staffing meeting with yourself. We all keep a stash of to-dos on our notepads or on our secondary to-do lists to be done later on. Right? And you can refer to my previous to-do list that get done videos, especially when I talk about the lists that are not urgent and not important. So essentially all of us always have a stash of ongoing tasks that are not to be done right this second but still need to be done in the upcoming days/weeks. And so that's why it's important every single day. As I mentioned in those videos, you can catch up with part 1 and part 2. I'll put the link in the description box and in the screen anyway. What I shared in those videos essentially is how important it is for us to do staffing meetings with ourselves every single morning to just have a bigger look on what are the core priorities for that specific day, and especially insist on the urgent tasks and sort of really highlight what is the number one priority to move forward on that day. And it's even more important to have a staffing meeting with yourself on the days where you don't feel at 100, on the days when you feel a little bit low. Because all of us can anticipate to-do lists for the upcoming days, but none of us can really anticipate exactly how we'll be feeling every single day. You can't predict the day that you'll wake up with a fever, with cramps, or whatever. You can't predict that. People say that they leave the emotions at the door when they get to their office. True, but the reality is, again, we're not robots. We're humans, we feel emotions, we feel body pains, we feel pains, and so nobody can predict the day that they will feel very low and they will not feel like themselves. So those first thing in the morning staffing meetings are even more important on those days so that you can sort of reassess how much you can really get done that day and while on top of the important things and the priorities that you had highlighted for that specific day. Step number 2 is to eliminate distractions from the day. When we're feeling low and tired, we're already pretty much distracted by what's going on within our bodies and our minds, with our emotions and around us. We're already pretty drained from that, and so we don't need additional distractions that will cause us further fatigue and overwhelm. So that's why it's a good idea, especially on those days, to keep distractions at bay first thing in the morning. And so what this would look like is on those days, first thing in the morning, you can start anticipating as soon as you notice you're feeling a bit funky and you sort of come to the realization that that day is going to be a bit slower for you. You can perhaps choose to work from home versus work in an open space. So in that case, you would want to stay at home so that there's no distractions. You can just stay in your room or sit at your desk peacefully and just focus on getting things done and move forward. Another action that you could take to eliminate distractions, whether you work from home or from an office, is to switch your status from online to busy or do not disturb. That could be done on online software such as Slack or Outlook or Skype or whatever you use with your company. And it could be done as well on our Gmail and Outlook accounts. Obviously, the same applies to the notifications on your phone and on your computer. And finally, if you work from home, you can communicate to your friends, family, and roommates that you will be busy during the day and you do not need to be disturbed in any way. You can verbalize it vocally by talking to them or send them a message, an email, or even placing a sign on the door that says, "Do not enter the room, do not disturb." The third step you want to take during those slower days to still get things done is to focus on the easiest tasks first. Sometimes when we struggle to focus and we don't feel like getting into work instantly, easing ourselves into work mode by starting with easier tasks is such a smart strategy. And it's up to you to decide what are those easy tasks that you can start your day with. Of course, there are the non-work related tasks that still would get the blood flowing and you moving. Those tasks can include completing a few small and easy chores around the house just to get you started. We can think about making your bed, washing dishes. Work-related easy tasks can include answering a few quick emails, making a few important calls, or completing tasks and projects that only will take you between 3 to 5 minutes. To avoid procrastinating with these tasks, make sure that you pick tasks that only take between 3 to 10 minutes to complete so that you don't spend hours on those easy tasks. Remember, those tasks are not meant for you to procrastinate and to derive you from the main important and urgent tasks. They're simply meant to ease you into the work. Just like when we're at the beach, when we start soaking our feet first and then our shins and the knees and the thighs and so on until we finally can swim. Next tip. Now, let's go back to our to-do list. Remember, on the slower days, we said that it was important to focus solely on the important and urgent tasks and leave the rest for later, either for later during that day when you feel much better or for the next days. And so once you sit down and are ready to get through that to-do list, my advice is to concentrate your focus on the most important and urgent task first. Focusing your energy like that will help you save energy instead of spreading your energy levels trying to do different things at the same time, which will further exhaust you and increase overwhelm. Pro tip that's pretty much well known is to focus on a given task in batches of 25 to 90 minutes. Some call it the Pomodoro technique, which consists of focusing on a given task for 25 minutes and then taking 5 to 10 minutes of break and then starting with another round of 25-minute deep focus and so on. And other people like to focus in sprints of 90 minutes of deep focus, and then after those 90 minutes they would take a break of 5 to 15 minutes and then go back to another round of 90-minute deep focus. You choose which one works for you. I personally like to work in batches of 30 minutes and then renew them as I go. I really pay attention to my mood and my energy levels and adapt. Next huge tip, especially on slower days, is to take regenerative breaks. During those slower days, you're already pretty depleted and drained for whatever reason we discussed earlier in this video. And so if there was one day where you needed to take breaks, that is the day. That is the day. These breaks don't have to be long. They can be between 5 and 10 minutes. You can take a walk, you can stretch, you can hydrate, you can take quick naps. Sometimes during breaks, we take our phone and scroll on social media, or we watch a series. And while that's distracting, and that could work sometimes depending on our needs, on slower days when we feel like already depleted, we don't need to be further fatiguing and exhausting our senses, namely our eyes and ears and brain, with additional junk or information, or perhaps open the door to a wide range of anxiety triggers, especially when you scroll on Instagram, for example, or on social media. We don't need all that. What we need is to have peace of mind, not to be triggered by anyone or anything, and have this quick regenerative breaks that will help us engage our focus in the next round of deep focus. Next tip, at the end of the day, do a performance review with yourself. We want to get into the habit of doing self-assessments. We want to assess our performance on ourselves, by ourselves, every single day. Instead of waiting to get into a performance review with a boss or a manager 6 months down the line. That's a great practice to detach yourselves from other people's approval and instead really reflect on what is it that we're proud of accomplishing that day and what could have been done better and what the lessons that we've learned that day. It's also a great way for you to have a clear picture of the things that you were able to move forward on that day and those that need to be postponed to the next day or the next weeks. Also, on slower days, performance reviews can really help you highlight your wins for the day, therefore helping you boost your self-esteem and make you feel much better on the days where you know you've been feeling a bit down and you could use a pat on the back. So don't skip that. Last but not least, once you're done with your to-do list at the end of the day, focus on recharging yourself. But once you've completed the day and you've highlighted your wins, you deserve to rest. You've showed up, you did your best. The only job you have left is to spend the rest of the evening recharging your batteries and resting. The reason why you're experiencing a slower day in the first place is because your energy levels were low. Whether we're talking about your emotional energy levels, physical or mental or spiritual. Something happened in your life that led you to feel down on that day. And so it's only normal that you would spend the rest of the evening recharging yourself so that the next day or a couple of days after that, you can get back to your full, normal, highly performant self. Pushing yourself will only delay your recovery. I recommend reflecting on your needs for the day and focusing on specifically healing and recharging those areas that were particularly depleted on that day. If you were going through a harsh emotional period, you would focus on that. If you're particularly exhausted physically, for example, you were very sore after a very, very heavy workout, then you would focus on taking a hot bath or getting a massage, stretching and going to bed early. If you were particularly drained and overwhelmed mentally, perhaps it's a good time that day to turn off all electronics and journal, read a book, or simply just listen to guided meditation with lights off. Bonus tip, you've done it. You were feeling very low that day and you still pushed through and got the most important and urgent things done. Well done. Honestly, you can be proud of yourself. And so the bonus tip is to reward yourself. Whatever it is for you, don't forget to go to bed feeling proud of yourself and content. And tomorrow is another day. I'm really curious, what do you do to get through the slower days and still get things done? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, give it a good like and subscribe to my channel. It really makes me happy to see this channel grow, and I'm looking forward to interact more and more with you in the future. See you next week for another video. Bye!